everything, I suppose. There's Race Spec. Turn it down a smidgen. There we go. So, the chat's up, the stream's up, we're all good to go. Hello and welcome everybody to round 14, the penultimate round of the RS2 PlayStation Championship on Race Spec Esports. As you can see, our location for tonight's race is the Monaco Grand Prix at Circuit de Monaco, a 3.37 kilometer 19 turn racetrack, one of the most legendary and historically significant racetracks in the world of Formula One. It is one of three jewels that form the Triple Crown of motorsport, level pegging with the Indianapolis 500 and the 24 Hours of Le Mans. This tricky street circuit is probably the most demanding racetrack in the game, I would have to say. Even the slightest mistake can be punished quite severely around this racetrack, with the Armco barriers lining the racetrack. Several areas can catch out the drivers. It'll be quite a long race, I imagine, for all of these guys competing, just because of the sheer amount of focus you need for this race. 39 laps around this tricky, demanding race circuit. It's fairly torturous for the most part. Well, in my opinion anyway, as a driver. The Tier 3 race I did earlier in the week was, exhausting to do. And we had no brakes, no safety cars, no virtual safety cars, so the drivers will definitely be put under the pump here tonight. It's time to witness probably the best qualifying session on this calendar. Qualifying around here at Monaco is simply sublime, watching the drivers go around a tricky racetrack like this, pushing towards the limit, particularly when you're watching high caliber drivers like this lot navigate this circuit. It's always amazing to watch how close they get to the walls, how much speed they're carrying through certain corners, how brave they must be, how committed they must be to set the lap times they do. But no, this should be a fantastic little 16 minutes worth of content. And I believe the first driver to set a flying lap will be Isaac Kush. See if we can't find him. Here we go, we're right on board with Izzard making his way around Saint-Devote, and then up the hill, up Beau Rivage towards Massenet. Keeps in 6th gear, shifts down to 4th in preparation for Casino Square, this right-hander down the hill towards the first Mirabeau, a tight right-handed hairpin, then into the tight left hairpin of the Grand, well, dubbed the Grand Hotel hairpin. Around the second Mirabeau, and then Portier, 2nd gear, short shifts to 3rd, 4th, 5th, through the tunnel. Slams down to 2nd gear, locking up a little bit on the entry, but doesn't cost him any sort of momentum. Now to back, very tricky corner to get right, through the Louis Chiron chicane and then the swimming pool chicane. And around Rascasse, 1st gear, overshoots the corner, almost does a Schumacher. Then around Anthony Nogues, onto the pit straight once again, to complete the first flying lap, a 1 minute 9.247. Now, I commentated Pacific Tier 1. The best time I saw there was a 8 flat set by G-Force Crichton. We'll see if anyone can come close to that time. ACW put down a really solid benchmark there, 1 minute 8.269, almost a second quicker than Izzat. I should mention as well, ACW from our last round in Japan was crowned drivers champion. Got a healthy margin to Izzat Kush, and Izzat will not be able to catch up. So ACW is a Drivers' Champion, and it's looking as if Alfa Romeo will most likely be crowned Constructors' Champions by the end of this race. They've got an incredibly healthy lead over Red Bull and Haas, I believe, are the following two teams. They are quite close to one another in the championship, Haas and Red Bull, so that'll be a little battle to watch in the final two races of this championship season. At the moment, everyone's just trying to set some sort of banker, get a little reference point, so then they can really start to put the hammer down towards the end of the session. Let's grab up the fitted tyres. Everyone on the soft compound. The strategy around here, soft to medium, as Aiden almost puts it into the wall. Around Raskas. Sideways. Then through Anthony Nogues. A bit unstable in the third sector from the looks of things, but he keeps it under control. Sets a 10-3. Slowest at the moment. Gaming away from the flying lap, exiting the tunnel towards the Nouvelle chicane. Goes down to third gear, turns in a little early. He almost hit the inside barrier, which may have spelled the end of his session if he did make contact with it. Comes through to back nicely, through the swimming pool complex. Fourth gear, bumps him into the wall. For these RS tiers, we only have reduced damage, if I remember correctly, instead of full, just to compensate for the lag, as this is a global tier, as Gaming Wafer doesn't know. And cuts turn one. Leo's coming to an end of a flying lap. Haas driver jumps to third place with a 1 minute 8.816. About 700ths off Tom R in the McLaren, who had a very nice victory in Suzuka a week ago. New driver, a name that I don't recognise, Kozrik, a Belgian in the Racing Point. Making his way round Massenet. Then Casino Square, fourth gear, gets back on the throttle, down the hill fifth, then goes down to second gear for Mirabeau, and now the Grand Hotel hairpins. First gear, the slowest corner in Formula 1. You have to tiptoe your way around there, try not understeer into the barrier on the outside. Now through the tunnel. This would have been one hell of a place to sit in. It would still be today, but you can imagine sitting in there in the mid-2000s, where F1 cars had the V10 engine. It would have been an absolute experience sitting in there, watching cars fly past you over 250 kilometers per hour, with a screaming V10 at the back of it. It would have been fantastic. Rick sets his first competitive lap, a 10.3. He's actually one of 3 drivers who have done a 10.3 in this session. Wogboy and Aiden have done pretty much the same time. Very, very close between those 3 drivers. Joel, though, that's not where you want to be. Resets to circuit. It's a going again. And McLaren is coming. That would be Tom. He's on an outlap. He'll probably go back into the pits, get the damage repaired. Rage, the Swede, yet to set a lap time. Track position is incredibly important around here at Monaco. Everyone knows this, so probably best that you set some sort of lap time. Though it can be very difficult, not only because of the narrowness of the circuit, but there's also a couple of places that can catch you out warning wise. We're coming up to one of them now here at the Nouvelle chicane. See drivers cut a little bit too much here. Rage, there's no such thing. Another potential spot is turn 1, Saint-Devot. Here through the swimming pool complex, particularly turn 16. This corner here, as Rage demonstrates the great effectiveness. Cutting too much of the corner there, invalidating the lap. I wonder if he's going to have another go. I think he just might. Yes, he will. So round Saint-Devote, doesn't cut too much there, up the hill. Towards Massenet, turn 3. Goes down to 4th gear. Now Casino Square, 3rd, short shifts to 4th. Oh, and there's ACW! Oh, yeah. Oh, dearie me. I think Rage, he got a little bit spooked there by ACW. Just lost a little bit of control of the car. Wasn't a lot of... oh dear. He didn't lose a lot of traction. Just lost just enough to spin himself into the inside barrier. ACW, he's on a in lap from the looks of things. Same with Tom. Leo, though, I believe is on a flying lap. He is. Passes Tom. Around the Grand Hotel hairpin. Around Mirabeau. Then Portier. He needs to improve by about half a sec. Oh, he's actually backed off out of the lap. Rhythm's not on a flying lap either. Anybody on a flying... Whoa. Oh, righto, that's at the swimming pool complex. I wondered where he was. Prime, the Finnish driver in the Alfa Romeo, currently 9th place. Oh, overshoots the chicane, invalidates. Oh dear. Second driver in succession where we've seen something like that. Now will he try and set another flying lap? Did a 10 flat, but he made several mistakes in the final sector. Rounding Massenet. Then Casino Square. Goes down the hill. There's traffic in front. An AlphaTauri and a Renault. There's Miku, the AlphaTauri. Hopefully Miku will get out of the way of his fellow Finn. He does. Round Portier. And that's Wogboy in the Renault. Getting out of the way. Down the hill for the Nouvelle chicane, turns 10 and 11, invalidates, cutting too much there. So he'll probably duck into the pits, try again. I think Job just set a lap time, did he? Was it somebody else who just set a lap time? I'm not quite sure. Because I was pretty sure 2 drivers were yet to set a lap time. I knew Rage was one, I wasn't quite sure who the other one might have been. Let's see who is... Prime, I think he's backing off. Isn't. Crossing the line to do an 8-7, goes 3rd quickest. Jumping up to the 2nd row. Plebs has done a flying lap, an 8-8. Currently, he is 9 thousandths of a second off Leo in 4th place. It's incredibly close. Then we got 1 3/4 tenths to Rhythms. Actually, no, sorry, it's a bit more than that. More like 2.5 tenths to Rhythms. It's a fairly big step, about 3.5 tenths to Wogboy in P7. And we've got sort of this group of cars from P7 down to about P10, about 3 tenths apart. So it's quite close, as you expect around such a short racetrack. Jack on a flying lap. Rage has crashed. That's at Casino Square. Damaged his front wing. He has to keep an eye on that clock. He's only got about 4.5 minutes left in the session. Effectively, he'll have one more go at a flying lap, and he'll need to go into the pits to get that front wing replaced. Jack up by 0.3 of a second in the second sector. Very on edge here in the third. Rounding Anthony Nogues. DRS open, up through the gears, hugs the right hand side, does a 9.5, goes 8th quickest, jumps inside the top 10. Plevs on a flying lap, up by almost 1/10 of a second in the first sector. Making his way around the Nouvelle chicane now, down to second gear, overshoots, invalidates. He's got 3.5 minutes left in the session. He needs to pace himself out. He's flying though. I think he might be trying to get back into the pits as soon as possible. He's really chucking the car about. See what he does. Yes, he's going back in. Ferrari coming around the second Mirabeau now, and around Portier, through the tunnel and towards the Nouvelle chicane. Second gear, throws it through, round to back. Now the swimming pool complex, very on edge, doesn't invalidate there. Exiting Raskas, now Anthony Nogues. Goes back onto the pit straight, up to the line, Rhythms will set a 8.6. Goes third fastest, a pretty solid lap time there. See if anyone can beat the lap though that he just put down. I reckon a few people could. They just need to string the lap together. Appears that Izzat might be the first driver of the top dogs to try and set a final flying lap. Crosses the line to begin his lap round Saint-Avold, fourth gear. Gets back on the throttle, up the hill, up Beau Rivage. Round the right-hander of turn 2, then the left-hander, Massenet, turn 3. Casino Squared, down the hill sideways there, just past the apex of Casino Square, but he's up by 1/10.5. Rounding the hairpin, second gear to minimize wheel spin, maximize traction. Rounding Portier, now the tunnel. Here we go, into the Nouvelle chicane. Shifts down to second gear, cuts as much as he dares. Now to back. Keeps it in fifth, understeers past the apex there. He made a mistake, it's cost him some time, and he's backed out of the lap. Fortunately, he has enough time to try and do another lap, and he's backed off completely to try and let Leo through, who was also backed out of a lap. Rhythms is on another one, up by 0.02 in the first sector. Tom, I think, has backed off out of a lap. He's not using any battery, and he's running out of time. I think he's got just enough, though. ACW, it's the same deal. He, too, is running out of time, not using any battery. Who's the car behind? It's Prime, his teammate. Miku's trying to get out of the way. Prime's coming to the end of a flying lap. He's going to get a bit of a tow here from his teammate. Or maybe not. But here we go, 10, 9, yes, he's done it easily. So here we go. Champion on a flying lap here at the end of the session. He's currently fastest with an 8.198. See what he can do, shall we? Rounding Mirabeau, he's down by 0.5 of a second. Rhythm session is done. Everyone else is up to. Is that done? Leo is done. He's backing out of the lap. He's not pushing. So I think it's going to be down to Tom to try and take pole position away from ACW. Rounding to back, 6th gear. Keeps it flat through the swimming pool complex. Brakes for this chicane. Rounding Raskas. first gear, short shifts to second, clips the wall at the exit of Rascash. Izzat has retired in the pits. Tom, what can he do? Crosses the line to go to pole position with an 8-1, and ACW goes into the pits, bailing out of the lap. The British driver in the McLaren snatches pole position in the dying seconds of this session by 7/100ths of a second. Well done, Tom. And I believe everyone else is done. We are done with qualifying. Ooh. There we go. McLaren on top. It's only just ACW missing out by 7/100ths there. Then it's a fairly big margin. A bit under half a second between ACW and at the end of the session, but the German is starting on the second row. He'll have Plebs alongside. Izzat in P5, Leo P6, Gaming Wafer in 7th, Rick in 8th on debut, Prime in 9th, and Rage rounds out the top 10. The Swede managing to set a lap time at the end of the session. We'll go through the drivers outside the top 10 once we line up on the grid and see what everyone decides to do in terms of strategy. Everyone in the top 10 will be starting on the soft compound tyres unless it is raining. See if it is raining. If it is, this will turn into a very difficult oh dear. So it's raining here at Monaco. Oh boy. I feel very sorry for every driver on the grid right now, because this track is a big enough pain in the ass in the dry. In the wet it just becomes unbearable. Genuinely unbearable. Because even in the dry, the slightest mistake, the teeniest, tiniest mistake can be very costly. In the dry, in the wet, that's even more amplified. Like, even the slightest lapse of judgment can destroy your front wing around here in the wet conditions. Missing in apex only just, like, particularly with a corner like Tabac, fantastic example, where it's such a one-line corner. You turn in too early, you smack the wall on the inside, then you go off and smack the wall on the outside. But if you turn in too late and understeer past the apex, you smack into the wall on the outside, and potentially then smack into the wall on the inside. So ideally you want as much grip as possible through such a tricky corner. The game says no, mate, no. Have these wet conditions where you have no grip at all, and now try and negotiate this circuit. Oh, this is not going to be fun for the drivers, and to be honest, I don't think it'll be a great deal of fun for us as spectators, because it's going to be difficult to pass around here. We're just going to see a lot of carnage. It's basically what we're going to see. It will either be lots of carnage, which isn't my favourite form of racing, it's nowhere near my favourite form of racing, or it's just going to be drivers following one another, too scared to try and overtake as Tom tries to get some temperature into his tyres. We'll be seeing a good race. I think we'll be seeing a lot of chaos, a lot of carnage, and I'm not a massive fan of that. I like to watch good racing, good respectful racing, and I don't think we'll be seeing that for tonight. And looking around the racetrack as well, it looks like the clouds have hung around. There's no signs of blue skies whatsoever. So I have a distinct feeling that we're going to be having these intermediate conditions for some time. It may even worsen to wet conditions. You never truly know. Get the telemetry up so then we can monitor the battery, how much ERS they have left. Oh boy. Yeah, everyone on the Inter. No one gambling to go onto the wet weather tyre in case if it gets worse. So in which case we know what tyre everybody's on. We'll just chuck it on. Oh, not stops. Position change for the first lap. So here we go. At a damp Monaco Grand Prix, we have 5 red lights. And it's lights out. And away we go. Tom converts well off the line. They're skating all over the place, trying to find traction. Round Saint-Avold for the first time. Oh, and into the wall. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, dearie me. Rage was completely sideways there. I believe that was Rage. No, it was the gaming wafer. Sorry, his teammate. Completely sideways there at the exit of turn 1. They're making their way side by side between the two asses through Casino Square and then down the hill towards Mirabeau as leaves and other debris flying off all over the place. Leo has damage. I know Wafer has damage. Welcome to the car park on the first lap here at Monaco and spinning. I think Wafer just, or is that Rage? No, it's Rage. Dear oh dear. What's happening here on the first lap? Now they're making their way through the tunnel. Nice and dry through here and into the wall, I think. Was one of the cars in the background. Oh my goodness. Cuffing the chicane, Leo getting a 3-second time for. Fortunately, that's a 3 second, so he could probably try and get that removed. Oh, but he goes into the wall at the back. Drivers behind have to check up. Oh, dearie me. It's not the way you want to start off a race now, is it? Tom out in front, leading the way. A 1.7 second margin over. Did he just go into the wall there? No, his wing looks alright. He's got a 1.7 second margin over ACW. Oh, what's going on back here? Rick and Prime were side by side there, heading up the hill. They're rounding Massenet. They're going to be side by side heading into Casino Square. And Prime around the outside can get it done. Exceptional move there by the Finn. Into 5th place. Up 4 positions already, the Alfa Romeo driver. Oh, and that explains a bit. Rick has damage on his front wing. A missing end plate on the right hand side. You can see it there quite clearly. Yeah, several drivers getting damage early on. Wafer and Leo were the only ones who made a pit stop, as you can see there. They've lost the most amount of positions out of everybody, down 7 and 9 respectively. As Tom gets a 3-second time penalty already for multiple warnings. As Joel drops back to 13th place with wing damage on his Mercedes-Benz. Dear oh dear. Yeah, Tom, already a penalty. And you can see as well he's running even on fuel, or maybe a little under even of fuel. That's what the yellow fuel icon means in the bottom right. So he's running with a light lot around this circuit. Prime is on another planet at the moment. He's caught up to everybody, up 4 as Joel enters the pits, gets a new front wing, and exits the pits. I've just noticed. Oh, what's happened? Oh, that's Tom! The race leader! He's facing the wrong way! He gets it going again, but you can see wing damage there. His end plate is lying on the ground. Oh, dear. Side by side, this might not work. Oh, fortunately, it does work between the two. But Tom... cutting. He must have cut the hairpin. That's the only place where you can do that. In that sector anyway, in that section of